Okay, the more begins. We are therefore, if we're coming to the out that what they wanted to do is machitza means that they wanted to do a plukta, they wanted to demarcate how much each person owns in the chutzner. That means, and then once they demarcated that, then they were automatically chayav to build a rock wall. That must be because hezek rishmei hezek. So the Gemara says, e hezek ria. We are around 13 lines down from the top of the Amud, Gimel Amud Aleph. The E Hezek Ria Shmei Hezek, which we're coming out to. Why is the lashon of the Mishnah the my area rotsu? Then why would they say they have to agree that they want to make a division of their property? They shouldn't have to even want to agree to make the division. Hezek Ria Shmei Hezek. They're damaging each other. There should be an automatic chiyuv to put up a stone wall between them. People go ratsunami, even if they don't want. One should be able to force the other one to put up a stone wall. Because hezek rishmei hezek. Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishnasenu she'ein bo din chaluka. The reason why we needed the ratsu is because our Mishnah is not talking about yesh bo din chaluka, that they're in the case where there's 8 amos, each person would have 4 amos. One person can force the other person to make a division. But when they don't have 8 amos, they don't have 4 amos each, it's not a yesh bo din chaluka, then nobody can force unless each one wants. That's the case of our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is that they didn't have a din chaluk in the chutzner, and therefore the only way they could come to making this split is when they both want it. Mishnah Senu b'she'ein bo din chaluka v'hu dirotzu, and then they wanted to. My kamashman, and that's the case of rotzu. That's why they wanted to. Once they wanted to make this division, then there was a chiyuv for them to build a stone wall. My kamashman, what are you telling me? What are we learning from our Mishnah therefore? B'she'ein bo din chaluka. That when in a case where there's no din chaluk and both of them want, then you have to split. Then there's a chiyuv to build a stone wall. Is that what we're learning from our Mishnah? We have a mefurish Mishnah in Daf Yud Aleph that teaches us that din. Why would we have to be now? That when there's no din chaluk and they both want, then there's a chiyuv to split, to divide with a stone wall. Tanina, we learned this in the Mishnah on Yud Aleph. It's talking about all the different types of land, like soda, in the Graf Amraf Mishnah, that they can't divide a chutzner until it has the right dimensions. Each person has to have daled amos. For a soda, they have to have other certain amounts, tisha kavim. As each side has to have tisha kavim. The gina, each side has to have a chetzi kav. Other things like the tracklin or these shovet, the chicken coop, pigeon coop, or items like a talis, they have to, or the merkats, besa shalchin, you can't split those unless there's enough for each person to be able to use the object as that object. So the end of the Mishnah said the klal is zeh klal kol sheyichalek v'shmo alav cholkin. Anything which you'll divide it and it'll still be clear, then one can force the other one to split. It doesn't have to get the consent. The im love, and if you would be too small, and if it would be split, it wouldn't have the shem on it anymore. The im love ain't cholkin, then you can't split. Emasai, when is this? One cannot force the other to split. When is this? Emasai bizman she'ein shneihim roitzim. When they both do not want, then if there is the right size dimensions, then one can force the other. But if they both want, if they both want, even if there's smaller dimensions, you can still split. Right. And that's the mission over there. So we learned it already. We learned if there's both people want, and they even less than the dimensions, they can split. We don't need to learn that in our Mishnah. What it says, Tanina, Amasai, when is this? When they both don't want, then one can force the other one because it's a chatzah sheish bodin chalukah. But if they both want, even less than those dimensions, cholkin. So why would we need this Mishnah also to teach us that same din? Our answer is we do. We need both of them. We need both Mishnayos. If we only had over there, Havamina filu pechos mekan b'masifis, that ba'alma, that in the case where it was less, when they both wanted and they were going to split, and it was less than the dimensions that are splittable, that what type of a split can they do then? It doesn't have to be a big wall. It can just be a demarcation of who owns which part of this land. Masifis ba'alma, pegs to demarcate the land. Kamashmalan from our Mishnah, that it's not like that. Once they want, and we're dealing with a chatzah she'ein bodin chalukah. Once they wanted in our Mishnah, then they had to build a stone wall. Kamashmalan. From our Mishnah, they have to build a kosev. Where it says once we have these two Mishnayos and we hear that you have to, once they want, they have to build. Once they agree that they has to build a kosev, what do you need the other Mishnah on Daf Yud Aleph for? Lisnei ha below lisnei hach. What do we need both of them for? Just learn one that you have to build a kosev. More says in the Daf Yud Aleph, we needed that because at the end of the Mishnah it talks about if they want to split. True, if they want to split all of the different objects like a talus, base merchatz, base shovik, and all of those things, that has to still be usable for each one. But the Sefer speaks about splitting a Sefer Torah. Splitting the klaf and each person taking half of it, a navi, which comes in a gillion, and that they can't do it. It's a bizayon to the Sefer, even if they both want. And so that's why they wanted to learn that Mishnah the whole way through with all the different cases in order to teach us the Sefer that when it comes to a Sefer Torah or to a Sefer Nevi'im, anything that comes in a gillion, that you can't split it. Sifrei Kisvei Kodesh, you can't split it because it's bizayon. But true, we didn't really need it. We could have learned it all from our Mishnah. Sefer Itzrichalei. The Kisvei HaKodesh. Ava Pisha Shneihem writes in that even if they would both want to split it, Lo Yachloku. You don't split it because it's a bizayon. We're here. They take this out all the way down to the dots before about 8 lines up from the wide lines of the Gemara. The Mayu Kimto. So what's the case of our Mishnah? What are we talking about? Are we talking about that the has a din chalukah or doesn't have a din chalukah? Up until now, we thought we were talking about a chatzah she'ein bo din chalukah. They wanted to just make a division in how much each person has of the chatzah, and therefore Hezekiah was Shmei Hezek, build a stone wall. The Mayo came to what's the case of our Mishnah? We must listen. Ein bo din chalukah. It's ein bo din chalukah, and therefore, when they both want to split, then they can split, and they have to build a stone wall. Ibashem Bodin Chaluka, Ki Rotsu my heavy. Just because they wanted to split, what's that going to make? We learned that once they want to, they have to split. There's a chiyuv, mechayivin, to split. So why should that be? If there was a din chaluka, one can force the other one to split. But if there's no din chaluka, splitting, but they just wanted to, one can back out. The one they can just retract and not do not want anymore. Why should they be mechuyev to split? Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, shekonu miyadan. True. If they had, if it was a chatzah she'en din chaluka, Farmish was talking about a chatzah she'en din chaluka, and they agreed they wanted to split, they wanted to divide the chatzah, and they would have to make a wall, but if one wanted to retract, he would be able to. But in our case, they made a kinyan that they would build the wall together. How do you make a kinyan? There's no metaltalin over here. Here, there's no mekach, there's no matana. On what was there a kinyan? So they made a kinyan chalipin with a suda, kinyan suda. And then, so the Gemara says that also is problematic because the kinyan suda is only made on a mecher or on a matana or on a shibud karkios. But over here, there's none of that. There's no shibudim. And they build a wall together. So Gemara says, my heavy. What's that going to help to make a kinyan suda, kinyan chalipin over here? It's just a kinyan devorim ba'alma. Who, as Rashi explains, the usual kinyan of chalipin has to be on something like metaltalin, some type of a transaction. There's no real transaction going on here. This is just an agreement. Rashi said, so they made this kinyan chalipin, and they designated which side each person would take. This person would take the east side. This person would take the west side. And when you do that, so then that's different. That works. Or Reb Ashi, Omar, Kigoin, Sheholach each one just went and like walked the boundaries. And once they did that, after having made an agreement to make the wall, and then they walked the boundaries, that was a chazaka, and then it was binding, and they couldn't retract. So that's the case of our Mishnah. We're talking about chatzah she'en din chaluka. They agreed just to divide the area and on to build a wall together, and that's why they were mechuv to build a wall. Like the more Mishnah then said, "Makom shenoigu livnois," makom that they are noig to build different materials. They have to use those materials. You shouldn't think that you can build with lesser materials. That's in these places. That's what they use. That's what can't force the other to make a nicer wall if the nicer wall is not used. Also, like we'll see in a second, there's different thicknesses. So you might think that if the thickest wall, which might not be the best wall, is used in that place, and the other one doesn't want to take up so much room of his chutzner, he wants to build it with a thinner wall, he can't force the other one to build with the thinner wall because the minhag is, even though it's going to be typhus, more of their chutzneros. So more says, Gavil, what is Gavil? Is which is 6 tefachim wide. So Gavil Avnei Lo Mishpaya. It's rough rocks, and that's what they build they build a wall out of. They're not hewn into nice squares with flat sides. So Mishpaya, that is rocks that were cut, and they're square blocks, and they're good, they're shaped blocks. The Chassid, because it says, Pasuk says in Malachim, Kol Eile Avonim Ikaros Kemidos gozis migoyrois era bias umechutz mimasor kochois umechutz anha chotzer hagadoila. So we say, it says ve'elu abonim ikorois kemidos gozis migoyrois. So those are cut rocks. Ksifim is the cut rocks. The gozis is 5 tefachim thick. And it has to help build 2.5 tefachim. With the gvil, each one has to build 3 tefachim more. With the ksif, so that's 4 tefachim. Each one has to build 2 tefachim, pay for 2 tefachim. All right, so kfisim orche leveni libne. Kfisim is half of a brick, levena, which is 1.5 tefachim, but the wall of kfisim comes out to be 4 tefachim thick because they cut, it's half bricks, so that's 1.5, that's 3, and in the middle they leave a tefach and they fill it with cement, so that comes out to be a wall of 4. And levenin libne is 3 tefachim. It's just the complete brick, which is 3 tefachim long. Omar le Rabba brick Rab Ashi mimai dibdulo mashfayaninu. What are we learning? That the gevil is raw rocks that aren't trimmed and cut into nice shaped blocks. So where do we know? How do we know that the gevil is that type of rock? V'hai tefach yisera l'morsa de karnos, and the extra more than the gevil is because it's rough and it doesn't have smooth sides, and it bolts out, projects, it sticks out. The rough parts of the rock stick out. How do we know that that's the case of gevil? Dilma. Maybe really what gevil is, just like half the size of a finely hewn gozis, and in the middle you have another tefach, which is filled with space, which is filled with cement. So you'll end up with 6 tefachim. Gozis is 5, right? It's 5 with a block with a width of 5. How the gozis high tefach leveni orbe, maybe that, and the extra tefach that we see with the gozis space in the middle with cement in it, and that tefach in the middle. Who? Like we saw with kfisin arche, that was each kfisin was half a levena with a tefach of cement in the middle. Came out to be 4 tefachim. Levena, and levena libne. The high tefach yisera, and the tefach yisera by the kfisin was the extra tefach in the middle. Leveni urve. So omarle, the time that you want to tell me that the gevil should be like that? We can learn it the other way. We can split it. We can flip it the other way. The time kfisin or this that you told me that the kfisin, half a brick with a tefach in the middle of cement. So why don't you just learn that is just a rough, it's like a rough rock, and that the extra tefach is because it's sticking out, because the rough edges are sticking out. Kfisin orche minon, where do we know that it's half of a brick? So how do you know? El Gemara, we know it because it's a Masorah. It's handed down. We know the Gemara knows the same thing. The gevil that it reaches its size of 6 tefachim because it's a Masorah. Gevil nami avne de lo mishfaya more gemira. That's only because it's Masorah we have it handed down. And some learn it the other way. They switch it the other way. Ikeda ami omar le Rab Acha b'rei Rab Abia. My the high kfisin orchei minu. How do you know that the kfisin